Tonight, KTN unmasked the face of Robert James Parkis, a British soldier suspected of killing 21-year-old Agnes Wanjiru in 2012 while on duty in Nanyuki.
Are you aware that the British Army has a £70 million training facility in Kenya, located about 200 kilometers north of Nairobi in Nanyuki? You might not be, but several generations of women in the Nanyuki area definitely are, and for all the worst possible reasons. So there's this thing called the British Army Training Unit Kenya, or BATOK, which was established on June 3, 1964, under an agreement between the British government and the new Kenyan government, which had just gained independence 6 months prior in December 1963. Under this agreement, British battalions were permitted to deploy for training exercises twice a year in designated areas in Nanyuki. In reality, what ended up happening was that Nanyuki became the playground and fiefdom of foreign military personnel from the country's erstwhile colonizer. The same military personnel who had spent the years leading up to Kenya's independence castrating Kenyan men with pliers and raping Kenyan women with broken bottles. Yes, this happened. So you can easily predict what happened next. The same thing that happens every time you put an occupying military force in close proximity to a defenseless civilian population. You know that thing that happens everywhere the empire has its foreign military bases? Yes, that, but like 50 times worse. And let me tell you how bad it has gotten in Kenya. Reportedly, more than 7,000 Kenyans have taken legal action against BATOK for the many horrors and losses that it has visited on them. The lucky ones just experienced economic losses and maybe a few scars here and there, and they encountered things like unexploded ordnances and British soldiers doing pretty much whatever the hell they want in what is supposed to be someone else's country. The not so lucky ones have suffered life-altering injuries and deep psychological scars.
Nilipigwa kama wanyama, akakanyaga mkono na mguu, mkono ukabanjika, akatengeleza mkono hapo tu kwa kienyeji, kwa watu wanajua kutengeleza kienyeji, si mkono kufunga tu mkono. Sasa hiyo mkono hata sasa haifanye kazi, na yeye ana nguvu hata. Hao usungu nikuchika na nguvu tu mtu na fanya vile anataka, alafu na wacha ibaki hapo. Dada yake nasikia alinyongwa, hiyo akakufa. Naona hapo mali kwa moyo.
And then you have the really unfortunate ones like Agnes Wanjiru, a 21-year-old hairdresser in Nanyuki who encountered British combat medic Robert James Parkis on March 31, 2012. Parkis raped Miss Wanjiru, stabbed her in the lungs so that she effectively began drowning in her own blood, and then dumped her while she was still alive into a septic tank where she died. He apparently told the rest of his combat team what happened, and the following images taken from court records show Parkis and his fellow British soldiers laughing and joking on Facebook about raping and drowning Agnes Wanjiru in a septic tank. Even more incredibly, when this matter was reported to his superior, get this, no further action was taken. Parkis finished his tour in Kenya and returned to the UK, where he left the military and later reinvented himself as a PC technician and a family man. Presumably, he's not going to stab this woman in her lungs and toss her into a septic tank to drown in human excrement. Now, earlier this week, Agnes Wanjiru's niece met with the UK's Secretary of State for Defence, John Healey, urging him to push for Parkis' extradition to Kenya to face justice, now that the Kenyan court has finally issued an arrest warrant. And his response was basically, we'll think about it. So the real question for Kenya and other countries in the global south, which continue to voluntarily host Imperial occupying forces, is not about whether some semblance of justice can be achieved in this standalone case, but why BATOK and other Imperial anachronisms continue to be allowed to exist. Clearly, despite Kenya's designation as a major non-NATO ally and an official visit by the English king, the behavior of foreign troops in that country shows exactly how the empire really sees it. Not as an ally, but as a servant. So what is the point of keeping this dangerous and destructive charade going? And despite issuing an arrest warrant for Robert James Parkis, why does Kenya still want to keep on hosting British and American foreign military bases at the expense of its own people? Only Mr. Ruto can answer that question.